peoples. How y'all doing? My name is Larry Drawn, and I'm the host of this podcast, which is called Conversations in Rhythm. And I'm really excited because we're about to go on with the big homie, brother Quincy Davis. Listen, drummers, saxophonists, pianists, bassists, all the ists. Grab you a notebook and a pen or a pencil, and you need to get ready to write tonight, because the thing that I've admired about Quincy for years now is the wealth of knowledge this gentleman has on so many different topics, not just in jazz drums, but just in jazz music. So tonight, as always in Conversations in Rhythm, you guys have seen it so far watching. We may start in one spot, but once we get rolling, there's no telling where the conversation, just like the music, will have us end. Let me say this to you. June 9th, you need to be in the building because we are doing a tribute to Joni Mitchell and Nina Simone at More Music, downtown Greensboro. That's 615 West Market Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. We start at 6 p.m. And I have an incredible array of vocalists as well as musicians that are going to be joining me. It's going to be a real fun night. You need to go ahead and get your tickets because, the thing I love about More Music is that it's a very small and intimate space, but that's the point. It's a small and intimate space. So, you keep playing around and you get your tickets too late, you're going to be, we already have a plan, obviously, but you just want to go ahead and get your tickets. All right. So starting with Quincy, obviously, these are certain things I'm going to reiterate whenever he gets on with me. But first and foremost, the brother is from Michigan. For those of you who know, I was actually moved to Michigan and was a missionary. So I got a lot of love for that state. It's a lot of really killing people that have come up out of Michigan. In fact, here you go right here. Let me go ahead and bring them on. Let's see. I reckon that's about to be it. But yeah, so there's a lot of incredible musicians that have come up out of Michigan. And like I said, the thing that I dig about Quincy is the you get around this brother, things begin to make sense. Questions about different parts of the music. There he is. What's happening, Quincy?
What's up, my man?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Larry Q in the house.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's do it officially. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. I'm your host, Larry Q. Drawn Jr. And this is the Conversations in Rhythm podcast. I have the special privilege and honor tonight of speaking with a gentleman who is touching thousands, really hundreds of thousands of people all around the world through his work on social media. On Instagram alone, he has about 20,000 followers. And on YouTube, he has a channel that's constantly growing, sitting at about 50,000 followers. Brilliant musician, brilliant percussionist, educator, professor, the whole nine yards. But most of all, what I've been able to glean from watching from afar, a brilliant human being. Y'all, the great, masterful Quincy Davis.
Man, you're too kind. I don't know if I'm worthy of all those nice words, but I appreciate them. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, man, it's the truth, and I even that I appreciate your humility. You know what I'm saying? Man, let's jump into this. I was just talking to the people about your roots in Michigan.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what it was like growing up in Michigan. Like, what part of Michigan are you from, and what that's like?
Yeah, I'm from Grand Rapids, and so you spent some time. Where were you?
Yeah, I was down in Taylor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Taylor, what they call it, what, Taylor Tucky,
Taylor.
you know?
Right.
Yeah, but nah. I got a lot of love for your
Mhm.
state, man. It's a really beautiful place.
Yeah. So I'm from Grand Rapids. Most people assume I'm from Detroit, but I'm not from Detroit. I'm from the other side.
Hmm.
But I spent a lot of time on that side of the state playing with a bunch of great musicians out there.
Hmm.
There are some really good musicians in Grand Rapids too. My brother's a wonderful pianist who
Oh,
I'm
wow.
playing with, and we play with different musicians in West Michigan. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's where I'm from. And I went to school there. I was there until all the way up until I moved to New York, actually.
Bet,
Yeah.
bet. Well, man, yeah, that's heavy because I mean, when you talk about the first name that I think of whenever I think about the influence that Michigan has had on jazz, I immediately think of Dr. Barry Harris.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So being from that area, okay, how much of the Michigan jazz scene did you soak up before you left? And then how much of it did you realize after you left and then have gone back to then draw upon?
Uh, let's see. Well, I would say I didn't really know how much being in Michigan and specifically playing with cats from Detroit, and more specifically Rodney
Come
Whitaker,
on.
uh, and Dwight Adams, cats like that, Marcus Belgrave. It was like a school after school. It was the real school,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize how much it actually was going to hook me up
Hmm.
for I arrived in New York because I kind of knew who I was. I knew what I wanted to do, and I was just about that swing. I was just trying to swing,
Hmm.
which that's still what it's about. All the cats who are from Detroit are really about that beat and about the feeling.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that really helped me and just kind of gave me confidence for when I moved to New York. I didn't necessarily have a lot of stuff together. I could play, I had some language, but I wasn't like the most incredible like child. I'm still not, but I definitely didn't have. I wasn't a technician,
Hmm.
and I didn't get into more of the technical aspect of drumming until a little later. But I had a good feel, and I think that stood out when I moved to New York, and I ended up, I started working fairly quickly because of that. And so I realized, oh, okay, I guess I'm onto something. They trained me right, and it helped me. It helped me so much when I got there. I hooked up with cats who really appreciated the tradition, but
Hmm.
also trying to push the music and move it forward, but still maintain the essence of the music, which is still very important to me.
That's good, man. That's good. So what year did you arrive in the city?
I was there. I moved there in 2000, and
Okay.
2000 to 2010.
Hmm. So a decade.
Yeah,
And man, so you mentioned having like the foundation,
yeah,
and like that's the beautiful thing about being from from places that have like they have their urban centers, but it's a little bit less urban. Is that you get that folk thing, you get that people thing, that human, that visceral
that's it.
element, and then you're able to build on top of
Yeah.
it. Who who was the cat that you hooked up with in the city that really helped uh, push your plan to the next level?
Do you mean like drummers or
Period.
another?
Yeah. Period.
That's a good question. Um, I have to shout out my man Randy Napoleon. He was my roommate. Like we were running partners in Michigan. Then he moved to New York before me.
Mm.
He's a guitarist, and we're still really like best friends. But he kind of hooked me up so that when I moved to New York, cats already knew about me. He was talking to
Wow.
me. I got this. My boy's in Michigan. And he's moving, and you got to make sure you check him out. So and he really kind of helped me just acclimate to the scene and introduce a lot of cats. And then we also played a lot of gigs together. We were roommates as well.
Hmm.
But let's see. I would say, and then another cat, Neil Smith, great drummer. He
Hmm.
teaches Berkeley now. He hooked me up in so many ways with the practice room. We would shed together. He got me on a lot of gigs with like Cyrus and just different cats. He's one of those like big brother kind of figures that we're still real close. And then I would say Eric Reed and Benny Green kind of, I started playing with both of them around the same time. And I remember, I think it was Eric or Ben, one of them told me, he's like, they said, yeah, we just feel like we want to look out for you. You know, we want to make sure we're looking out for you. I guess they probably talked about me to each other. So they had the conversation of just making sure they're looking out for me. So, you know, just playing with them, it wasn't necessarily them like hanging out with them so much outside of just playing and being on the road a little bit with them. I learned a lot about the music, mostly about the music, about how to treat it, you know, in a straight ahead context, what that meant in a quintet setting, and what that meant in a trio setting, you know. So
I got you. Well, talk to me about the.
I had to say that as well. There's so many cats who I from and glean from, and you know, just being in New York, you just being out and hearing the same cats over and over, you're naturally going to be influenced by them. They're going to affect your playing. They're going to get you thinking about the music a little different, which it definitely did. So, yeah, I learned from everybody.
I dig. Well, when you talk Eric Reed, you talk Benny Green, you're talking about like a heavy representation of like that piano trio thing. What did you learn from playing in that setting? What did you learn specifically about the piano trio? Because like that's a different vibe than other things.
I think, well, one thing is Benny Green is very meticulous and kind of erotic. So we would rehearse at his place on the Upper West Side, and I had never rehearsed like this before, man. It was like we would work on introductions, 4-measure or 8-measure introductions for an hour.
Wow.
You know, just trying to hits just like the way he wanted them. You know, and mainly like the longs and the shorts. Making sure you're really adhering to that. You're blending. You're not playing too loud. You're not playing too soft. The overall dynamic contour, things like that. Really, like I had never really thought about it, but he's very specific and detailed and knew exactly what he wanted. With playing a ballad, he didn't want the hi-hats to be like mushy sounding. He wanted that crisp. He wanted it to be crisp. So I'm up on my toes trying to get it as clear and crisp without playing too loud.
Right.
See, that stuff, like, so I had to really work on that. Another thing is just playing time and being content with playing time and not feeling the need to just play drummer stuff and play a fill, you know, all the time, when you can just lean into the time and the groove, and that's going to supply the music with the intensity and excitement it needs. So those are just kind of a few of the bigger, like very detailed lessons that I learned from playing with him.
Yeah, that's fly.
Yeah.
What did you get from playing with Eric Reed? Because he's like such a force. Like, so what was that like?
Yeah, it's just like you said. Like I had to get used to, how should I say, like not kind of working your way into stuff. Like he likes to just hit, you know. I remember playing some monk music, and it was just like a different energy that he brought that I had never felt. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but very aggressive, very proactive with the time, and definitely on top. Like he liked it leaning forward, that kind of energy. I think that's the biggest takeaway. And I mean, he liked to swing. That just making sure you're not relenting on that groove, and always playing with energy and also making sure you're really listening, because he has huge ears. Same with Benny, but he really, as much as he's ingrained in the tradition, he
Hmm.
also can take the music places, and he wanted you to be able to do that. Less so with Benny. Benny wasn't like that. Although I have a funny story about that, but Eric really could take the music different places and wanted you to be able to interact and play with him. And I think that's something that he liked about me, is that I was always really in tune with him or the rest of the band. Um, I think I did okay. I could have done better. I was young, so I only had so much to work with. But for the time I was with him, I think it was pretty good.
I dig. Well, that's fly, man. I was talking with Jason Marsalis a few days
Yeah,
ago in the same interview space, and he said he basically fleshed out what you just alluded to, which is um, he's like e- even whenever you're thrown into situations when you're young and you don't necessarily do as well as you would like to, you
yeah.
still get the lesson, and that's what the point is. He
That's
would, yeah, and I thought that that was a very powerful principle to bring forward to cats. It's just like, yo, the point you made it out alive, so so it's like, man, you got it, just
yeah.
so so.
It's a lot of lessons. It takes you know a little while for it to sink in what you actually learned.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't know you learned anything. In fact, sometimes you feel like you de-learned.
Come
You
on.
know, some, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
years later you might, oh, okay, so this is what I got from that.
Hmm.
This,
Hmm.
because you might find yourself in a similar situation, and you handle
Mm.
it differently as a result. So sometimes that's the case too. It
Yeah,
takes a while. Yeah,
I, I agree. I agree totally. So we're talking about things that you learned from people that weren't
yeah,
drummers while
yeah.
you were whenever you first got to the city. Who were I know you mentioned I know you mentioned your peoples, but who else did you connect with um that was like a big brother father figure even that really helped you get to the next level on the instrument and in your concept?
Let's see. Carl Allen was somebody. Carl,
Ooh, shout out Card Island.
and and he's still like this, man. He's like, always looking out. He really cared, and actually, he was the band leader of a band that my brother was with, called
Mhm.
I think it's called Manhattan Projects. And so
Okay.
before I moved to New York, I was already like learned. He was one of my first big influences, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so I was already on his tip. I was like, I knew his stuff. I had checked him out. I seen him, when he came with Benny Green Trio, actually, in Michigan before I moved, years before I moved.
Hmm.
He knew me, but only as the little brother of Xavier, who
Okay.
was playing with him. So, but I kind of knew of him. And then when I moved to the city, that's when we really kind of connected, and he just kind of really always looked out for me. So much so, I had my drums and cymbals stolen before I was supposed to go to Europe with a trumpet player, Tom Harrell,
Hmm.
and I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have nothing, and I
Hmm.
was supposed to leave the day of, and I knew I could call Carl, and I called Carl, and he said, "Just come on over. I'll give you some cymbals." He had a bunch of cymbals, and he just looked out for me and let me hold on to him for a while. Although I was hoping he'd let me keep him, but he didn't.
Uh,
But Carl is definitely that one of those figures. I would say even before that, though, Billy Hart. He was my teacher in college, and
okay.
Billy was somebody, and is still. Um, I learned so much about just music, and I learned the importance of going back,
Mm-hmm.
right? Going back and understanding the lineage of everything you're playing, trying to understand the authentic approach and feel to everything you're playing and understanding the reason why you're playing it, not just
Mm-hmm.
playing. And the connection to Africa, that was it completely opened everything up for me. And it continues to be something that I always think about, like, how does this coming out of that stem, out of that branch of West African roots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always thinking about that connection, and I've never really studied specifically West African drumming, but it is something I'm always aware of. I have been there and witnessed the power and the energy and the passion that West African drumming and music has, and the effect it has on the people
Mm-hmm.
and the audience. And I'm always aware that in our music, in black music, but specifically jazz music,
Mm-hmm.
since that's what I play. And I always want to capture, I always connect that feeling of earth,
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of Mother Earth and being grounded
Mm-hmm.
and being deep. Like I don't care what we're playing, I always want that feeling of that depth,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a little more subtle,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's abstract. I want that element to be there. So anyway, yeah, Billy Hart is somebody who always looked out for me. I would call him, and he's like the busiest cat in the world on the drums, like one of the most recorded drummers. And I would call him my little sophomore butt, trying to ask him a little question about some vocabulary or whatever. And I call him, and he wouldn't, he'd be out, but he would check his answer machine when he's in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this cat called me right back, like within 10, 15 minutes. This is before cell phones and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He called me back. He said, "Hey, Quincy, you called me?" Yeah, Billy, where are you? Oh, I'm in Europe right now. But that's how he treats. I mean, it's not just me; it's all his
Yeah.
students. He really looks out for you, and he really cares about you. And so those are two pretty important figures for me as far as drums and just understanding life and a lot of different, aspects of being a musician.
That's brilliant,
Yeah.
man. I forgot who I was talking with, but we were talking about how it's important to, like what you say, connect with people on like that human thing, like people that, because you find out that a lot of your family ain't people that are necessarily blood related to you, you know. Yeah, you move around and you just be like, wow, wait a second, this person that's genuine concern that they're showing for me, and to know that that's always been a part of our music. You look at pictures like A Great Day in Harlem, and you just see all the cats like posted up. It looked like a big old family reunion photo,
That's it.
Yeah. So, so you studied with Billy Hart.
Hmm.
Um, you were a disciple of Carl Allen. Um, who is one of the cats that when you heard them that you felt like, oh my God, this person's in my head, like they're playing all of my stuff, like who is that person?
You mean playing all the stuff I want to play? Kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
wow, that's a good question. You mean like cats that I would see live or just on recording or?
Anybody, yeah. Just anybody in the continuum, whether it's back in the day, now.
Well, I would definitely say, I mean, Hutch. He was the okay, so I'll give you a little story. I'm like deep into Hutch. This is like mid '90s when his stuff is all the way popping off, just everywhere. He's on every recording, and I had I knew all the recordings, everything that came out with Greg. I had it. I was going, and I got so excited when something new came out with just his sound, his touch, the language. Because I love Philly Joe. He helped me actually get more into Philly Joe because I learned how much he was into it. Also,
Mm-hmm.
Billy Hart was really into Philly Joe, which you would not know But he says, yeah, I'm actually, I would call myself a natural extension of Philly Joe. That's what Billy would
I
say.
like that. A natural extension. Wow, that's fly.
And then when you hear him, it starts to make sense.
Hmm.
Even very different. Anyway, so I was so into Hutch that, yeah, I framed my playing after him for sure. So much that at a college festival, my group was playing. It was like I think it was quintet or sextet, and we're playing. We had a hot set, man. We kick butt.
Uh-huh.
This is a festival that our college would go to, our university would go to every year, and we took care of business.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
the stage like, okay, yeah, feeling kind of good. And then I ran into that cat Neil Smith I told you about. He
Uh-huh.
was
Uh-huh.
one of my good friends. And this is our first meeting. This is our first time ever meeting, and he made his way over to me. He wanted to say hi. I said, "Hey man, you sound good. I'm Neil Smith." I said, "Thank you." He said, "You know who you sound like, right?" And inside I'm thinking, I hope he doesn't say Greg. I hope he doesn't say Greg. He's like, Greg Hutchinson. I was like, oh. And the reason it kind of hit me like that is because I felt like I was faking it.
Mm.
I felt like I was posing because he called me out. And he was actually, it was a compliment. But
Hmm.
for me, I realized, okay, at that point, okay, maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to move on to somebody else, because obviously I got a lot out of that and I got it down. There's more I could get, but there's a lot more cats out here
Hmm.
who I need to check out. So that kind of hit me, but that's how much I was into Hutch, and I was obsessed. I still am, but obviously I have a lot more influences,
Hmm.
and but he was like the first cat of like the who was living, who really hit me like hard. It hit me. I got the bug.
Uh,
I got
you know,
yeah.
that's fly. And I ain't gonna front. Can you hear me? Hello?
You there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was saying, I really gleaned a lot from your interview with Hutch.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. You have a really killing interview with Hutch up on your YouTube page. Um, so talk to me about playing with singers, man. Like you have such a wonderful sense of and you alluded to it whenever you said you wanted your sound to be grounded. I remember I was talking with Eric Harlan about his use of the sock symbol, and he was talking to me about like a palm tree and like how deep the roots of a palm. Yeah. You know Eric, man, he got a parable for everything. You know what I'm saying? But it's real.
Yeah.
But you were alluding to it when you were talking about how when you were in West Africa and you heard those drums and how everything was so earthy and it was so rooted and grounded. You get such a beautiful sound out of the drums, man.
Oh man.
Talk to me about working with singers and what you've learned over the years about playing behind vocalists.
All right. Excuse me while I pour my whiskey.
Uh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's water. It's water, y'all.
yeah.
Um, man, let's see. Singers. Well, my father's a vocalist, and I grew up
Mm,
vocal jazz.
okay.
Um, acutely. You know what I mean? So like, and I grew up going to his concerts. He's in the classical world and the vocal jazz world. So
So he sing,
yeah,
yeah.
he's more of an educator. He obviously sings, but he taught at the community college in Grand Rapids, also at Western Michigan, where I went to school as well,
Hmm.
um, and directed the vocal jazz ensemble. So I grew up listening to Singers Unlimited, obviously Take Six, the High Lows. I listened to all that stuff.
Hmm.
Claire Fisher, the PM singers, Phil Matson. That's a whole nother, but it's a world that I still love listening to it. And I would say that helped me become much more acutely aware of vocalists and the power of the voice, in both as an ensemble, but also as just solo instruments, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I grew up listening to Sarah Vaughan, Ella, all the classics. Betty Carter, my brother played with Betty Carter, so she's favorites. So I think having grown up and also coming out of the church, like, coming from the church, black church,
Yeah.
that's you hear singing, everyone's singing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the main part of the praise and worship. It's everyone's. So between that, I also grew up listening and going to operas.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's real. Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's very different. But I think all that together helped me really understand and appreciate the voice in different
Mm-hmm.
kinds. So now, so as a drummer, it's like when I tell my students, when you're playing with a vocalist, people are not there to see you, the drummer. They're not there to see anybody else. They're there to see the vocalist. And even if the vocalist is sitting in or whatever, and you just killed it, right? Your trio or whatever, you guys just played your butts up. But when there's a vocalist, when the vocalist gets up there, all
Yeah.
eyes on that vocalist, and it's our job to make them as comfortable, not make them sound great, because they're going to sound great, right, if we make them feel comfortable. So if we can make them feel, and everything that entails,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be free and be able to do what they do on a very high level. So when I play with a vocalist, I'm like this. I'm like, I've played with a lot of great vocalists. I played with Ernestine Anderson and
Mm-hmm.
Rubin, Dina DeRose, and the New York Voices. That's a group.
Mm-hmm.
But Cecile McLaurin Sauvant. I've played with a lot of great vocalists, and like their thing, vocalists have like very subtle
Yeah.
gestures that if you
Yes.
hip to, then you could be missing out on some signals that are signals of directions they want the music to go to, whether they're intending it for you or not. Just
Right.
watching body language that's big. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously being in tune with their range, being in tune with their timbre, in tune with the intensity that they're singing the lyrics, being in tune with the lyrics, all those kinds of things I'm like very sensitive to. And then obviously volume. If you're
Mm-hmm.
sensitive to all those things, then you're naturally going to be sensitive to how intense, how loud, how full, how much space you want to leave, all those kinds of things. So
Yeah. I'm enjoying it, man, because like that's one of your gifts, man. Like when you sit down on a point, it's like you yeah, man, you have an incredible ability to clarify things. Um, let's go in that direction.
I I,
When did you realize you?
I have a question. Why I'm just curious why your interest in my playing with vocalists. I'm just curious.
Oh, well, no, that's a great question. So, I'm doing the show June 9th. I'm doing a tribute to Nina Simone and Joni Mitchell.
Ooh,
Yeah, yes, it's gonna be a situation, man. It's gonna be a
ooh,
situation, and
that's a nice.
you know, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's because honestly, in my own humble estimation, I see them as the same thing, but at the opposite end of the spectrum. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like very strong female figures, very brilliant, artistic,
definitely.
minded, and they were so killing at what they did that they commanded your respect. Like what you were saying earlier, how whenever when you're around singers, how you're like very sensitive, how you're paying attention. One
Hmm.
of the things that I dig personally in working with a singer is if they approach the bandstand like they wanted the cats. It's like, yo, there ain't no difference. Like, in fact, I like it when a singer not arrogantly but confidently reminds everybody that the oldest instrument on the planet is the voice. You know what I'm saying? Like I like whenever a cat like really owns that space. So I definitely knew I had to ask you about how you interact with the human voice, because like I says, man, like you got the juice, you got the oil on you, man. When you get ready to elucidate a point, everybody in the room walks away like, yo, like I'm about to go do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I think one of the things with I got a funny story about I wanted to play with Betty Carter. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, and so, but before I moved to New York, my brother was like, just call her to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the lobby payphone in my College of Music lobby.
Uh-huh.
And I conjured up the guts to call this woman, this legend.
Yes.
And I called her and I said, she said, hello. First of all, I was surprised she answered. Secondly, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta talk. I said, hello, Miss Carter, this is Quincy Davis. I'm Xavier's brother.
Uh-huh.
She goes, uh-huh. I'm like, well, I was just calling to tell you how much I love your music. I love your singing, and I hope to play with you one day. I'm planning on moving to New York, and I hope to play with you sometime. And there's a pause, and then she goes, that's great, baby, but right now I'm eating some chicken, so can you call me back? I said, okay, thank you. And that was it. Click.
Yeah.
That was it. But I so wanted to play with her because all my favorite drummers also played with her.
Yeah.
Many of my favorite, Clarence Penn, Winard Harper,
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I can't even think, Troy Davis, Lewis Nash, Kenny Washington. All my favorite drummers played with her.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that, vocalists, I don't get to play with as many now as I used to, but I admire them and I listen all the time.
I did. Well, let's go ahead. Let's put it on out there, man. Who is the vocalist currently on the jazz scene that you dig their sound and you would like to work with?
Ooh, that I haven't worked with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I worked with her. Dang. But I need to mention I'm doing a show at Dizzy's next week. It's hard to believe.
Okay.
Week Tuesday on the 11th, and I've worked with her once before with Helen Sung, but it was Helen's project. I'm speaking of Christy Dashiell. Sorry.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's mutual peoples, man. Because her dad, Carol DeShield, was running the jazz program down here in North Carolina at East Carolina University,
Oh,
and her baby brother, Christian, who's like the savant of the family. All of them are brilliant musicians,
yeah,
but the baby brother, Christian, I met him, speaking of Betty Carter, I met him at the Betty Carter Jazz Ahead
yeah,
residency in DC.
yeah.
So yeah, and Christy, you're right. She's a monster. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So wait, hold on. So Christy's younger brother what does he play?
Plays bass and drums, and then whatever else he just look at, because that's just how
Wait,
he's wired.
hold on. So what's his name?
Christian.
And then do they have another sibling?
Yeah, they got a brother that plays drums. He's
The one.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the younger one. Okay.
And
Dang.
the bass. Go ahead.
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say that makes sense because she's, like she can't help but make music when her mouth
Yeah.
opens. You know, like
Yes.
it's just, and you can tell that she comes from the pedigree
Mhm.
of not only just of musicians, but soulful, deep, meaningful music comes from her family.
Mhm.
Period. I don't know nothing about her family aside from her drummer,
Mhm.
her brother, her older brother, but
Yeah.
that all makes sense because she's special. So I hired her for my project, which is
Uh-huh.
next week in New York. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited for her in that context. Um, of course, I would love to work with Michael Mayo. He's in,
Okay.
he's incredible. He's special. I feel like he can kind of float into different spaces and go different places, but he's got the grounding of the tradition,
Mhm.
which is something always value in a vocalist. Um, of course, Samara is
Ooh.
beautiful. Just beautiful voice,
Yeah.
beautiful just lyricism and how she deals with the lyrics, and she's got that thing,
Yeah.
that I win. I want that in all the musicians I work with. When that's missing
Mm-hmm.
with whatever the level, I just need that soulful feeling behind the notes, that whatever they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so that's something I seek out in all vocalists. I also love the vocalist. She's Brazilian, Rosa Passos.
Mm. Yeah, I got to investigate. I'm not hip.
Special,
She a
special.
situation. All right,
Oh,
all right.
man, she is a problem, and she's like she could be somebody's, your best friend's mom. Very um,
Mm.
um, uh, what's the word? She's just very kind of down home and relaxed, and you would never think that she's a musician,
Mm.
but she plays guitar and incredible. There's a few for sure, but those are 3 or 4 that I definitely would like to play with.
Yo, that's killing. So your show, well, hang on, let me say this. For those of you who are just joining, as you can see, I'm talking with the big homie, Quincy
Yeah,
Davis. Continue to send your questions to me in this here questions box, because at the end, I just almost want to do like a rapid fire thing. So keep sending your questions. I think that the things you guys are asking are brilliant. Um, so the empathy suite, man.
yeah,
Empathy.
yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about that. Is that what you're
That's
doing at Dizzy's?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
empathy is now it was an eight movement suite. Now it's 9 movement. I added one since the last time it was performed. Um, it's a suite of music that I wrote in. It was basically a part of a grant,
Mhm. Okay.
filming this composition, and it's a fairly lengthy composition, but it's motivated by the events of George Floyd and COVID,
Okay.
essentially. And it was when I started to write, when I knew I had a project and I needed to write something, and this grant was, I knew about the grant and I wanted to apply. I thought
Mhm.
about what kind of music I wanted to write and what kind of situation and what kind of instrumentation. I wanted to write something that was going to challenge me. I've studied classical music and obviously written for a lot of jazz ensembles. So I kind of wanted to do a mix.
Okay.
And so that was the idea behind it, and the motivation as far as the musical content and the emotion behind the music was definitely inspired and motivated, I should say, by George Floyd's passing and
Mhm.
killing and COVID. Um, but it's not necessarily about that. It was just motivated by it. There are
Mhm.
definitely themes in the composition that um, I don't necessarily say directly that this is what this is, but there are definitely some motifs and melodies and parts of the suite that are directly motivated from what happened to George Floyd, and
Mm.
other black men specifically who were in the same position.
Mhm.
And then there's other parts of it that I was thinking about COVID and how we were all isolated, and it helped us actually, well, not everybody, but a lot of us really took on the idea of connecting. Like I had my little series, Drummer to Drummer, and so that was also something that was really in my head when I wrote this composition, connecting and trying to understand and reach out and finally appreciating other people a little bit more than we did before, because suddenly we didn't have each other. So that's the idea. That's the idea. And it has 3 horns, 2 saxophone, trumpet, string quartet, harp, um, rhythm section, and voice.
Mm.
Yeah.
So immediately I gotta ask you, man. We're talking about people that have influenced your artistry behind the drums. Like, talk to me about composers you're into. Like, who do you like? Who composers and arrangers? Like, who are you into?
Uh, oh man. Woo. Well, okay. This is kind of both. This is combining composition and playing the drums. I didn't realize how much this group really would influence my writing later
Mhm.
on. Yellow Jackets.
Come
Yellow.
on.
I know you. I know. Yellow Jackets really. I was so into the Yellow Jackets. I would before all this technology, I would overdub myself singing a bass line of one of the compositions, and then I would sing Russell Ferrante's piano solo over top of it and paste it like with a cassette
Yeah.
overdub. Just because I wanted to do it, and I was so into it. But things like that, and really understanding, listening, and knowing all their music, really influenced my writing a lot. So that's one group. Just in general, classical music, specifically Ravel, Stravinsky, um, Shostakovich, Hindemith,
Okay.
all NWC. These are all important classical, European classical musicians who influenced my writing. Billy Childs for this kind of context, specifically jazz chamber ensembles.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm missing so many. The vocal groups, Take
Yeah.
Six, Singers Unlimited, for sure, for sure. I, I know I'm missing some. I know I'm missing a lot, but those are a few that come to mind immediately. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, Nelson Riddle. Nelson Riddle. Yeah,
Ooh. All
you know what I
right.
mean?
See, yeah, that's fly, man. So, uh,
Thad Jones. Thad Jones. You know, Thad Jones, this is something I heard from my friend who plays in the
yeah,
Vanguard.
yeah,
He said, I mean, we don't talk about Thad Jones enough, but Thad Jones was a genius.
yes,
And you know,
yes,
we don't use that word lightly. Um, he was a pure genius, and he was so much of a genius. One thing that he did that I've never heard anybody else doing, he
mm,
would write horizontally. He was
yes,
writing music like this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Finish the alto one, and then go back to the beginning, alto two, boom.
yes. Yeah, it's like what type of understanding of the grid do you have down pat to where you can do it right the first time? That's scary.
Mind blowing, mind.
Yeah,
But
yeah, man.
I mean, I never get tired of hearing his music in
Mm.
different contexts. Yeah,
No. Nah, see, I ain't gonna front man. You was in the ghost to even say that because uh I remember my director at North Carolina Central, Dr. Ira Wiggins, he talked about that specifically and that very thing. He told us that story. He was like, yeah, he was like, that was so cold. He would be on the plane and he would just write the whole and we're talking about like stacking like saxophone harmonies. We're talking about matching saxophones, trombones, and trumpets. So he's writing 13-part harmonies, and it's just all fire. Like he's not missing.
it
And you know, sorry, I'm
no, I
sorry.
just say incredible.
Yeah, but you know what I thought about, man?
What's
I
that?
think that one of the things that I admire about the older generation is that with them not having the technology that we
Yeah,
had, see, that was like a video game to them. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, you
yeah.
know, like the same way that like cats just like geek out and just get really, really, really good at video games now. I think about it, I'm like, wow, like art was like video games to those people. So the same way that, you know, in a virtual setting, people like master all these nuances and rules of engagement. They treat it like it's their life. How you doing, Mrs. Hoskins? Like cats back then, they were able to really like lean into a particular art form
Yeah.
and really get a certain level of mastery with it. And you actually brought me to my next point that I was going to ask you when and you name so many classical composers that have such lush and beautiful harmony.
Yeah.
Um, and then you name Take Six. So it's obvious, man. You got like a really thorough harmonic concept. Like who on the piano do you really resonate with as far as like voicings and harmonic spread?
Ooh. I always say, man, if I if I could do it over again, I would be a pianist.
Mm,
I don't play drums. I'll be honest with you. I've never felt, like I was like a real drummer. It's the weirdest feeling, but I feel more connected to harmony than rhythm.
wow.
And so, I'm like I feel so much more free, even though I'm not necessarily technically amazing, but I play piano, and I never get tired of it, and I feel so much more connected to it than
Mm,
drums, while also being able to play rhythmically. Like I wouldn't want to just play, just harmony without
right,
the
right.
rhythm groove. So piano and bass would be my first two, and then maybe drums, maybe. I don't know.
That's wow.
So, but so I always say if I could be a combination of uh, Barry Harris, Bud Powell, Barry Harris is kind of some,
Mhm.
um, Mulgrew Miller, Herbie.
Come on.
Um, I think those were the three. There was one more I'm missing. Herbie and Kenny Kirkland. You know what I mean?
You would be, yeah, you would be black, black, blackity, black, black, black. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you'll be the coldest cat ever.
That's
That's like a Voltron of, yeah.
so that's my goal. But as far as harmony, man, yeah, I mean those pianos obviously Mulgrew, Herbie. I just saw Herbie. It didn't even make sense, Larry.
Mm,
It didn't. He's still the coldest pianist that you will ever hear. Period. It's
say it,
not
yes.
even it's not even close. He's in another
Yeah,
planet. You know what I mean? Like his band play. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but his band was playing. They started playing. Uh, we were playing Dolphin Dance. Maybe
mm,
that was
mm,
and everyone was taking their solos, their stuff, and they're killing. It's like yeah. And as soon as he started his solo,
mhm.
the music went to a whole nother like from the first
Yeah.
of the beginning of his solo
Mm,
that he hit the piano. I can't even explain it.
mm.
He transported us to a whole nother planet, and
Mhm.
that's where he lives.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything from that planet, and
uh,
we're just observers.
yeah.
So Herbie, yes. I love listening to Keith Jarrett. For
Come on.
yeah, Keith Jarrett.
Yeah.
Um, a big influence. Another one is dang, piano. Well, I can't not talk about my brother. I grew up listening to my brother. You
I
know,
did.
my
So what did you glean from your brother, man? Like what is it that he's taught you?
voicing. I would hear
Mm,
his voicings, and if you listen to my music, you listen to me on the piano. A lot of his voicings are in there. I didn't even at the time I wasn't like studying it, but it's in my ear
yeah.
now that I can actually play. That's a lot of my voicings come from him.
It's killer.
And just becoming much more sensitive to the harmony in general comes from growing up with him, hearing him, how he plays, and how he really takes care of the harmony and the inner notes and all the inner movements and all those kinds of things. Uh,
Mm,
sure, for sure. I got that from him. And then just listening to how he comps,
mhm,
how he comps. And so when I'm playing and we're swinging, I'm,
mhm,
I'm always striving to connect to the way the pianist is comping.
mhm.
I think that's a big part of it, just growing up with him. And then just listening to all the great beboppers, like I'm a bebop nut. That's, so Bud Powell, um, Monk, listening to Monk, Sonny
Yeah.
Clark, Barry Harris is, you know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yo,
I'm
that's fly.
I'm a pianist moonlighting as a drummer.
I like that. I like that. That's That's fly, man. And honestly, whenever I've noted like over the years, whenever I hear statements like you made, like it it really helps you understand a cat's artistry. You be like, oh, okay, so you playing this instrument, but you hearing something else. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because even in watching that clip that you just dropped where you were demonstrating I call it like the Sonny Payne technique, like with the real
Oh
big
yeah.
feel in a big band context, and like you're playing just like this. You sound like freaking Goliath. You know what I'm saying? Like you just sound like a giant. Um, what I noticed was even though you're striking the drums in a very strong manner
Mm.
to convey emotion, when you get up top to the cymbals, I want to encourage, I want to challenge every drummer to go back and look at that clip. When you come up to the cymbals, still how soft and how controlled your touch is. And I'm gonna throw this at you, man. One of the things I love to look at when I'm watching like somebody with a masterful touch play, I like to watch the cymbal. Uh, like I'm very it's something about and you want to know the cat that made me realize that initially was Marcus Gilmore. I was watching him and I was just looking at just how the cymbal was just dancing, and I'm like, what manner of sorcery is this that you're able to get that symbol and getting back to this clip I'm referring to, I detected the same thing in your playing. You here it is, you're playing like really powerfully on the drums, but whenever you get up to the part of the kit that conveys color, um and is able to, I mean, in the most literal sense, like play the most pitches. Cymbals had that ability. Like there was still that touch and that sensitivity.
Mm.
Who did you get your touch thing from, man? Who was the cat that you saw and was like, okay, I'm about to get everything very light and controlled around the kit the way that you have it.
You know, one, I always talk about this I tell my students about this, but when I was maybe 15 or 14, I went to the Jazz Showcase
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago. I would go there a lot, and this specific time, I went to go see Elvin Jones, the Jazz Machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to sit next to the drums, like to the left of his hi-hat, basically,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5 feet from it. And Larry, brother,
Yeah.
that was life-changing. I'll be honest with you. And I don't remember, because I was pretty young. Maybe I was even 13. So I don't remember as much as I really wish I could remember.
Mm-hmm.
This day and age, maybe I would have been over there trying to, slyly video record it. But anyway, one thing that I will never, I can't even get it out of my head if I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
is when he would go to that left cymbal
Yeah.
and hit it with the snare drum and the bass drum and the hi-hat in such a combination that it made it sound like the heavens were opening up every time he played it. And it wasn't how hard he played it, the sound he got out of it. You know what I mean? So he would play it with such touch and care and finesse and power, even if it was quiet.
Yeah.
But sometimes he would like completely explode it.
Yeah.
But other times he would just hint at it. He would hint at the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be the way he hit that. So that really always kind of stayed in my head as far as touch, like playing with touch and finesse. Even if you want to hit hard, you still had to get a good tone out of the drums. And I see that a lot, that like the crossover of styles is beautiful. I think that's great and it's natural. And it's becoming like one big genre of music, which is
Yes.
great. However, something that a lot of drummers, when they're coming from other styles that are louder,
Mm-hmm.
they're coming into jazz, they're bringing that approach to hitting the drums with power, but yet with lack of finesse
Right.
and touch. So the sound for me is a little bit distorted, and it's not a jazz sound,
Yes.
even if they're killing,
Yeah.
and I'm very sensitive to that when I hear it, I just wish it could be, you know, I always think about all the great drummers. I think about Billy. I think about Philly Joe Jones. I think about Blakey. I think about Bill Stewart. I think about the sound they
Yeah.
get in. I think about the sound that they get.
Hmm.
Kenny talked about that, man, like in an interview where he's talking about how he would just learn everything on a recording, and he would really try to be as in tune with how the drummers getting the sound,
Hmm.
right? And so whatever you had to do to get the sound, sometimes the beater would be in, sometimes he'd bring it off, sometimes all kinds of little things that I think that a lot of drummers who are coming from other styles miss, that I want to make sure I am able to convey through my sound. That even when I'm playing like the clip that I showed you that you saw, even when I'm playing like that, there's still a certain level of care that I play with, because I've seen them all, and there's a care and touch that they play with, that I always want to have in my playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. You were definitely demonstrating that.
What
Um,
does it say? Roger Humphreys hi hat, Jason Marcellus bass drum, Marty Morell brushes, Ben Riley right. I don't know if that's if you're describing me or if you're just mentioning what you like, but I say yes.
yeah, that,
Whatever.
yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that, Jack. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
love it.
Well, talk to me about when did you realize you were a teacher? Like, were you just always the cat that could explain stuff? Like,
Mm.
when did you realize that that you not only had the ability to help people? Okay, I dig. So Landon, he's saying that's who he bases his touch on. Okay, I smell you, man.
Uh,
Well, you can't go wrong with that combination, man.
I love that combination. I love that. Let me
It,
review that again. Roger Humphreys hi hat, Jason
mhm.
Marcellus bass drum, Marty Morell brushes, Ben Riley. Ooh, that's a nice combination.
Yeah,
That that's
I
cool.
did. In fact, to all the drummers that are watching, go ahead and type like your idea. You remember how like a few moments ago Quincy named like all the pianists, if he could combine and make this Voltron, put together your Voltron of different cats. If you could take a thing from their mastering, if you could put it all together, because I think that lists like this, Quincy,
Mhm.
I think that these are important things to put up in your practice room, like yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna front this is just my personal thing. I have little hodgepodge, like little things like that in my notebook. I'm like, okay, for the next so and so months, I'm going to watch Brian Blade. I'm just gonna watch how he deals with a sizzle. I'm gonna watch this Marcus Gilmore thing, the way he got this ride cymbal shaking. I'm gonna watch this, the way that Quincy is able to. I'm gonna come back to this, but man, the forward motion you have in your swing, like we gotta deal with that. But okay, so somebody else just named their
Former
three. Blade.
one. He's
So you know Dewan personally?
he's a great drummer. He graduated from UNT. What's up, Dewan?
Oh,
Yeah, he can play.
that. Well, see, Dewan's in the ghost because I was asking you about teaching, and you're a professor of jazz drums, jazz studies at the illustrious University of North Texas. Man, that's huge. So talk to me about when you came into the teaching piece.
So before I moved to New York, I needed to save up some money. So I was just teaching locally in Grand Rapids
Mm.
and substitute teaching basically. I didn't go to school for teaching. So I'm teaching like little elementary school kids and trying to learn how to play clarinet and saxophone. And, you know, it was a learning experience. And then a teaching opportunity opened up the second semester from January, a full-time position at a middle school. And I'm like, oh man, that would be cool because I'll be able to save up a lot more money before I move this coming summer. So it was a full-time position I took, and the reason why the teacher left is because he had a nervous breakdown. It was in the inner city,
Say
and
what?
and he wasn't from there. Let's just say it like that.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, yeah.
Neither was I, but I also knew how. I grew up. I went to public school, so it wasn't nothing. So that's where I learned I could teach. I didn't know I could teach. I was literally first day higher learning or Cooley High. Cooley High. I'm not lying, Larry. I'm telling you, man.
What's the wildest thing a student's done in your class, man? What's the wildest thing you see?
Like when I saw, I'm not saying like female students and male students had to have certain things they can and cannot do, but when I saw a female student just like pass gas right in front of me and look, I said, "Oh Lord, what am I doing?" I said, and they're like literally flirting with me, like because I was closer to age and saying like all foul stuff you shouldn't be saying to teach. So I'm trying to be prim and proper, and I found myself regurgitating, saying things that my parents said to me, that all my teachers said to me, and it's just this is the first time it's actually coming out. But all these things that have been said to me, I'm passing it on, and I'm suddenly trying to sound all mature and like I got wisdom, and I have some knowledge and some things that can help them in their lives and all that stuff. I didn't know I had that year, and so that was crucial. And I didn't know if I was going to make it, but it ended up being an amazing semester. They wanted me to come back full time, and I said that sounds good, but I have other plans. I'm moving to New York. I'm done with this teaching thing. But I learned so much that semester, and when the opportunity to teach at the university level came up years later, I knew I could teach. I said, well, I'll check it out. I'll do the interview, and and it ended up working out. And I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. Of course, there's a lot of things I needed to learn, but the students took to me. I took to them, and I learned a lot from the students. I learned a lot from being able to have the freedom to teach and to work on, really hone the idea of the concept of teaching. And now I love it. I can't imagine, not teaching. I can't imagine just playing drums and not actually sharing all the knowledge and experiences that I have and passing it on. That's a part of the music too. I would do that. That was kind of my reputation later on in New York. I would just try to pull together or pull different younger musicians aside and just say, hey, I remember, Justin Brown, when he first moved in, he would sit in, I was like the house drummer at one of these jam sessions, and, he could play already, but he little things that I knew it just didn't make sense musically, or he just wasn't aware of. And I just pull him aside and say, hey man, check this out, or be careful doing, and I wasn't so much older than him, but it was more the fact that I actually knew it's one of those things when you know, and if I know something can help somebody, I'm like eager to share, not in a way of I'm better than you and I know more than you, but just I want to help. It's just my nature. So I would do that a lot with a lot of musicians. And yeah, I absolutely love teaching.
That's fly, man. I mean, like I says, obviously that's how I came to know about you. I remember when you were teaching at the University of Manitoba and you were dropping videos, and it was just dope just to see. I think the video that you did on foot technique, I think you had on Tim's. I think you had on black Tim's. And I was like, yo, I like this cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like, okay. And like I says, the earlier on, you have a brilliant way of clarifying things. And as a listener, when I apply these things to the kid, I immediately sound better. So yeah, man, I can only imagine like how much your drum studio was popping at North Texas. Like what's that like? Because they already have a history of whenever I saw that you were down there, I was just like, well, I mean, That's huge. So
Yeah.
what's it like stepping into those shoes?
Huge. I mean, you obviously know Ed Soph. You know about Ed Soph, who was here for 30 plus years. Legendary drummer, legendary educator. He's still around.
Mm-hmm.
And taught all the cats that you know came out of North Texas. He taught them all. Special. So it was not, it was intimidating to say the least to walk,
Mm-hmm.
to come into his shoes and to try to fill them. And I was very, very careful at not trying to impose my approach right away. I wanted to keep it out and suss it out and understand the environment a little bit. And from my second year, that's when I started to really make some changes and try to really create a culture that I'm comfortable with, because we're totally different people.
All
Um,
right.
so that's kind of that was my approach. I didn't realize how big it was. Honestly, Larry, I just wanted to leave Canada. I needed to get back on home soil, around people like I felt comfortable with, I could talk to, could relate to. I just wanted to get back. So I applied to North Texas because I didn't really care. I wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, North Texas. I was just like, I'm just going to apply to every job that comes up. I'm not going to get this North Texas job. I'm just applying. It'll be good to go through the process, whatever. And it turned out they were interested. So when I got it, Larry, I honestly, I was just happy to get to the States. I wasn't thinking North Texas, North Texas. I was a little bit, but not really. But I didn't realize the impact or how from the outside it looked for me to get this position
Yeah.
until my boy from Ann Arbor, Michigan, great
Mm-hmm.
drummer Sean Dobbins, got the position. This is I don't know, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, when he got the position to replace Steve Houghton at Indiana University.
Oh wow.
When he got that position, I lost it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like jumping up and down. I
Yeah.
felt like it was
That's beautiful.
the weirdest feeling. And then suddenly I realized, wow, that I understand how it might have kind of come across, or how it looks now from the outside perspective for somebody like us to get one of these jobs that is historically not a position that we would normally get. So
Exactly.
I relished it, and it made me value it at that point even more because I could see it from the outside. And as a result, I really, it's really important that I'm conveying, or that I'm putting out a message, a positive message, first of all, an inclusive message, a message that just kind of is instilled in the tradition, which is our music, and in talking about and conveying and talking about the music, I want to make sure that it's clear that this is Black music, is coming from Black culture. And that was something I didn't always necessarily, I didn't know how to convey in a way that didn't come across as, the militant Black dude,
Right.
professors trying to, because it's not about that. I'm proud to be a Black American. There's no question about that. But I also want to make sure all my teaching is ingrained. It's music first, but through the music, you can't deal with the music without dealing with the culture, without dealing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I finally am starting to understand how to exist in academia at this level, kind of toggling and negotiating those dynamics and making sure in an authentic, in a real way that I'm proud of, that my family's proud of, and that students can kind of really relate to, regardless of what their background is. They can relate to, and they get it. They
Yeah.
get the message. That's, for me, I'm starting to understand that better at this point, the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm excited because, teaching is one of those things you only get better at the more you do it. And I'm still refining it. I still feel like there's so much I can do better. I'm about to kind of modify the curriculum and all these kinds of things. But those are kind of my tenets. Those are things that are very important to me that I want to continue to improve on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, man, yeah, you're definitely like a huge
That
inspiration.
was
Um,
sorry, man.
you said What?
That was a long answer. I apologize.
No. Everything was connected, and everything made sense. And like I says, you're such a huge influence and example, because see, we need cats like yourself um who are thorough, who are meticulous, and who are articulate to tell our story as a people. Like, one of the things that I dug about one of the videos you posted with different drummers in the studio was, I saw a cat and he was talking about the paradiddle diddle thing that Calvin Rogers does between the bell of the cymbal and the bass drum and the snare.
Yeah.
And I was like, bruh, like, this is when you talk about things that we as black men in this generation have the assignment to overcome, I feel like we have to deal with um articulating what our parents couldn't articulate. And it wasn't because they couldn't articulate it, because we had people like Billy Taylor, Dr. Billy Taylor, Barry Harris, Dr. David Baker. We've had people that have been in the academic world and that have been saying it, but because they did what they did, they've opened up the floodgates for articulate brothers in this generation to write and to codify and to tell the nuances and the nooks and crannies of our story in our rhythm, in our music rather,
Right.
the way that we understand it. I was talking with a cat about well, I won't necessarily name that. We can talk about that off camera. But the point I was trying to make to him was, with a lot of these famous books that deal with different topics on rhythm, um, a lot of the writers were ethnomusicologists that were going to Cuba. They were going to different countries in West Africa, and they were watching cats play their drums. But
Mhm.
because of scientific racism, they didn't think that the people were intelligent enough
Mhm.
to say what they were doing the right way. So they took it upon themselves to try to explain it for them.
Yeah.
And they're missing so much of the essence of what's going on. And so I was saying to this person we were talking, I was just like, that's being having the ability to recognize that means, okay, that's one of the problems we're supposed to solve in this generation. That's what we're supposed to do. And I thank you, because you doing it, man. Like, you're just, what I like about it is you just getting it done. You have what, 211 videos on YouTube alone. You have 676 videos on Instagram. We ain't even talking about the books. Yeah, Doc. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
man. We got to have a party for like the 700 mark, because bro, you getting it done, man. And it's being done at a very, very, very high level. Shout out to Landon, because he just mentioned Mike Longo, The Rhythmic Nature of Jazz. Yeah, that's a dope writing. But I'm telling you,
Wow.
Quincy Davis, when he drops his book, it's gonna be a situation.
I
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate
man.
that. That means a lot coming from you. Somebody I respect everything you're doing too. I remember you did a post, and it man, you messed me up in a good way, talking about Errol Gardner and hip hop in the eighth note, and that I said, right, of course, and that sent me down a whole rabbit hole of really researching that and kind of understanding that the historical connection of where that comes from. And so
Yes.
I mean, so I know you're a deep cat, you're a deep thinker, and I appreciate all the things you're putting out as well, because that, that's not happening as much as it should. Like, actual research and things that you're discovering in the music, not just licks, or just, you're actually trying to educate and share information that you're discovering as well. So I appreciate that very much.
I did. Well,
Yeah,
thank you, man. Because like I
yeah.
said, you're the big homie, man. Um, we covered so much.
Too, man. You play your butt off too. See?
I did. Well, thank you, man. Like I says, I'm applying what I'm seeing on the videos, Doc. I watched it. Nah, real talk. I'd be in the shed, see the video, hit pause, try it, be like, okay, we're gonna give this thing a month, and we'll see. We'll see what we sounding like. Um, man, man, you've done so much, to really strengthen the body of drummers around the world. One of the things I dig about your videos is that the stuff that you're sharing, it don't matter what genre of music. It's like if you just apply these principles to your drumming,
Mm.
you will become a better
Yeah.
drummer. I remember when you did the Dennis Chambers challenge.
I remember.
Who were some?
What was it? I can't remember it now. Oh,
So,
the
yeah,
counting.
counting. Yeah. Because yeah, pick hits, man. That's like one of the holy grails of like jazz fusion drumming. Um, but my question is, okay, so we mentioned the Yellow Jackets, so shout out to the big homie, the father uh, in jazz fusion drumming, Mr. Will Kennedy. Who are drummers outside of the jazz tradition who have influenced you?
Ooh. Let's see. In Grand Rapids, it used to be like I was the jazz cat, so to speak, of like the young black drummers.
Mm-hmm.
And at Dorico Watson. Do you know Dorico? Yeah.
Shout out to Dorico
Come on,
Watson, man.
Dorico.
Yeah.
Me, hell, man. And like he be trying to get I, and he be playing all. I'm like, wow. So that kind of, and I didn't come up playing like that. So I just try to get bits and pieces of that. But so
Mhm.
he influenced me and influenced my appreciation for drummers coming out of the church. So I mean, and I grew up in a black church, so all the drummers that would play there,
Mhm.
I'm you know
Yeah.
just checking it out. Of course, yeah, Calvin Rogers, of course.
Yeah.
Um, Vinny Caluta, Will Kennedy, like big Will Kennedy. Um, I didn't get into Steve Gadd until later, but after
Hmm.
Steve Gadd, um, James Gasson,
Come on.
man, that um,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, oh, uh, um, um, the cat. Have you heard? Uh, wow, Garibaldi, and
Yeah,
partly
Dave.
the big thing with for him was discovering the idea of linear playing,
Yes.
uh, like a linear period where it just kind of it changed the way I approach playing the drums. You know,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I'm missing so many. I mean, if you name some cats, I can't even think of everybody right now.
Mhm. Yeah, what you think about Jeff Porcaro, man?
I never really got into. I now I have, but he wasn't somebody I was checking out. You know,
Uh, have you heard it's he's like 18. It's a Lee Ritenour record, Captain Fingers.
no,
The first track is the title track, Captain Fingers. Everybody, you gotta listen to Lee Ritenour's Captain Fingers.
I'm
It's
right.
he plays drums on the album, and so does Harvey Mason.
Ooh,
And yes, and when I tell you they up there acting a fool, like it's
ooh, wee,
it's ridiculous.
ooh.
Yeah.
Check it out. I gotta check it out. That makes me think of Tony Williams and the
Yeah.
later fusion stuff. And then it makes me think about Billy Cobham, and it also makes me think about Mike Clark. I
Come
remember
on.
I was in New York for a gig, and there was a band before us. Oh no, there was a band after us.
Mm.
And down my drums, and this cat comes up, and we're just talking, small talk. Oh, and we introduce ourselves. I'm Quincy Davis. Oh, I'm Mike Clark. And inside, I'm thinking Mike, because I didn't know what he looked
Mm.
like. This is before it messed me up. I tried to just be cool.
Uh,
I wasn't like, gosh, you're Mike Clark. But inside, I was losing
yeah.
it. He was
Yeah.
definitely an influence. Bernard Purdy,
Yeah.
you know, uh, so many cats, man, so many cats. Um, did I say Steve Gadd?
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned
I
Steve.
got
Yeah.
Steve Gadd when I started getting into David Sanborn.
Okay.
David Sanborn, the album Hideaway.
Uh-huh. Come on.
Oof, oof,
Come on.
yeah. So it's so many drummers, man. It's so many drummers, and I try to really. I think it's important that we do our research and check it all out, no matter what our main thing is or what we're really into or what we do mostly. No, I listen to everything,
Mm.
you know. And,
That's
and when
that.
I'm trying to learn, trying to get,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. Well, Quincy, I ain't gonna hold you, man. I really appreciate you spending this time, man. Let me I think we're gonna get ready to wind down
Yeah.
because I don't want to wear out my welcome. But let me
Uh,
throw these two questions at you
okay.
from Landon Blackburn and Taylor Hatch Music. Landon asked you, he said, "What are some of the biggest hurdles you see students struggling with when they come to study with you, and how do you go about helping them?"
Okay. Okay. That's a great question, Landon. You said Landon is a drummer?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
Okay.
one of the biggest struggles is specifically studying jazz is trying to understand how to create music while adhering
Mm.
to this style we call jazz. You know, I think that it's easy to kind of think that you you know when I always relate drummers to styles that they're most comfortable with, right? So I've worked with drummers who are mostly into rock and roll or funk drummers coming out of church, drum and bugle corps, like whatever they do that they're kind of most familiar with and most comfortable with. I always relate it back to that because I feel like when they play jazz, it sounds all stiff and there's no fun and it's very serious and there's no what I call musical moments. But
Mm.
it's this music's all about musical moments and actually being free and being proactive as opposed to being passive and letting it come to
Yeah.
you. You actually have to go. And so that's a hard thing to understand how that works in the jazz context. So I really try to talk about that, play recordings, demonstrate, and I'm really on students about that. I'm not so worried about them getting the language. I know how to teach the language. That's like a very important thing that I want all my students to walk away with, the language, the vocabulary. I want them to get the flow of jazz drumming. And I'm not so worried about that because I understand that. That's almost the easy part. The hard
Mm-hmm.
part is getting the nuance of the music and the understanding how to create those musical moments that I'm talking about while adhering to the role of being the jazz drummer. That's so hard, but that comes with experience. It comes with studying, listening, watching, obviously practicing, and living with the music. You got to love it. A lot of students don't love the music. They think they do, and then you see them a year later after they've been studying with you, or 2 years later, and they realize, yeah, maybe this is not the music that I really want to do, which is cool. But often students come in thinking that it's one thing and then they realize that it's going to require some work. That's why a lot of musicians veer off to another direction. They start down the jet and then they say, maybe we'll go over here because it requires a little too much knowledge and studying and intelligence. It was something that Wynton Marsalis said when he was asked, what do you look for in musicians you're selecting for to play with you? He's the first thing he said, intelligence.
Mm.
That hit me hard, man, because it's true. You can't be a dodo. I tell my drummers, don't be dodos.
Yeah.
Don't be. We have to know the music, and I want them to know the music and know music. You
Mm.
know, and I think that's something that he's referring to. Like we have to be, we have to understand it. We have to have knowledge of the music, current and also past. and have an idea of where we're trying to go.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's brilliant, man.
Good question, Landon.
Yeah. And he says y'all met at Interlochen last summer.
We Landon Blackburn. Were you in the percussion ensemble that I played with, or it must have been? You must have been. Oh wait,
Gotcha.
this.
And then Taylor Hatch asks, he says, what was the last epiphany that you had, and how did it influence you or change your perspective on music and life?
Wait, can you read that again? Taylor's always asking these deep, hard questions. He's from
Yeah,
he just graduated. One more
bet.
time.
So the first question is, what was the last epiphany that you had?
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and then he says, how did that influence you or change your perspective on music and life?
I would say, you know what? As we get older, as we age, or we become wiser, I think what they say is true is that you become more comfortable with who you are. And
Mm,
there's still a lot of elements or parts of me who, I want, uh, I would love to improve upon and all those things. But I'm definitely more comfortable with who I am, and I understand what I'm trying to do more. As Michael Carvin talks about, don't concentrate on what you're playing, concentrate on what you're doing, right? And
mm,
just think about that. What am I actually trying to do? And I'm trying to convey a feeling. I'm trying to convey an emotion, right? At all times. I'm trying to convey, I want to convey a level of relatability, right? I want to convey my culture, which is a big, huge part of who I am. I want to convey my passion for the music. All these things are kind of amalgamated in a way that hadn't before. And I'm much clearer on how to go about achieving these things now than I was even 2, 3, 4 years ago. And so that's kind of the first thing that I'm starting to, I don't know if it's an epiphany, but it's a realization that it's starting to kind of come together slowly. All these different aspects of who I am and what I want to embody as a person, as a musician. So that's the first part of the question. What was the second part?
the second part was the having that epiphany, and then how did that? I think you already hit it. It said, how did it influence you and change your perspective on music and
Yeah,
life?
just leaning into it. And so whatever I do, being uber aware of those things and just trying to really make sure that I'm playing with conviction or doing with conviction and confidence and clarity. Because we can have all the conviction and passion we want if we're not clear in what we're trying to deliver and convey. Or play, right? Right. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Just leaning into it, delivering it in a way that I feel is the clearest and most authentic, and effective.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, Dewan just jumped in and he said, what is the most challenging thing about getting a college teaching position?
Ah, okay. By the way, Landon, yes, I remember now. You were the count. Yes, I remember. Good to see you, man. Or good to see your texts.
Yeah.
um, the most difficult thing, there's like college teaching at a college. You're dealing with a lot of bureaucracy and um, administrative kind of duties. That's for me. That was big. Like I would get a lot of emails because I was kind of the head of the drum set department at the University of Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
That pales compared to the amount of emails I get per day here, because obviously a lot more students, a lot more responsibilities. It's crazy. And really trying to understand how to best organize and be prompt, but not letting it rule your life and trying to devise a system that kind of works for you and your overall flow. That was for me a big adjustment, trying to get a hold of emailing. Also, just trying to make sure that I'm a part of a system, but I'm also who I am, and I'm not losing what I'm about within this larger scope of education and academia. That's like a lifelong pursuit, but for sure when I first started that was difficult, especially when I came here because it's a large college of music. So yeah.
That's powerful. Well, man, this is the last thing I promise I'm gonna ask you, and then we're gonna wrap it up. I remember. Now I'm from North Carolina, and we're notorious, or well, yeah, we're notorious, but we're world famous for our barbecue. Now we primarily have pork barbecue here in North Carolina, as opposed to beef barbecue down there in Texas. I had some brisket and ribs when I was in Texas. I'm not gonna say what part. Man, I was sitting on the edge of my hotel bed crying because I had never had ribs that good. I wasn't ready, man. I wasn't ready, Doc. Like, I'm talking about falling off the bone. Like, it was just so amazing. My
Hmm.
question to you is, because I ain't gonna front, I had some pretty soulful food whenever I was in Michigan. You know, obviously I go up to Detroit. Um,
Hmm.
but the food in Texas, man, like what you get down with that Texas
No
barbecue?
question. No question. I mean, I had to. There's a spot called I always forget the name of it, but it's my go to. I bring everybody there. Sweet. I cannot think of the name of it. I always confuse the name of it. If I think of it, I'll let you know. But it's like 20 minutes from here. Uh, I have to really be careful of not going there almost every day,
I
especially when
did.
I was like when I first discovered it.
Yeah.
I had to be careful, man, because
Uh,
also they bring rolls. There's free roll. You want a roll? Hot rolls with butter roll. It's a problem, man. And then you
yeah.
got peach cobbler to top it off. Like you needed to, anything else to mess you up even. There's a lot of spots, man, that are really. And then don't even mess with the Tex-Mex. Don't even mess with the Tex-Mex here. Yeah, it's crazy. And I was just in Houston, in
Uh,
San Antonio, and us. It's even deeper down there because they're closer to the border. So they even
yeah.
have different stuff that they do compared to up here.
Mm,
It's a problem. And I'm like I cook at home. I just finished having my dinner here, but if I'm gonna
mm,
go out and have some food, I often will have Tex-Mex,
mm.
or I'll have barbecue. Those are my two go-tos for sure.
Bet.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm excited because the plan is, and I want everybody to be praying and agreeing with us because the plan is to get you up here very soon to do a tribute. To Max Roach is from North Carolina. And a lot of people we talk about Max a lot. Max is really beginning to get his just due. But people sleep on Danny Richmond. Yeah, he's from my city,
He
Greensboro.
is?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So yeah, man. I think everybody, if you want to hear Quincy Davis do a Danny Richmond tribute, put a one in the chat. And yeah, man. Brother, I just really appreciate you, man, for being an example, for upholding the integrity of this music, and yeah, just everything, man, that you're doing to really tell the right narrative about jazz drums around the world.
Hmm.
Um, because yeah, man, people are digging you, man, from all over the world. Like it's not just an American thing, and they're getting quality. Like I can't wait to see your reaction whenever you meet, one of your students who's been watching every single one of your videos from like somewhere in like Tanzania, and they show up to the session and they dumping on everybody, and they're like, "Well, nah, man, I didn't worked on everything. Like
Mhm.
this is you."
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
man.
powerful. I don't take it lightly. When I first started doing it, I didn't realize the impact that it would have worldwide until I was, I started I would travel after starting my YouTube channel, and Cass would say, "Are you the cat who puts out?" And I would get that more and more drummers recognizing me and talking about how my videos have helped them so much. Because I wasn't really going to continue. I was going to do a couple just to help my students, and I figured it helped somebody else. But I wasn't really intending it to become what it's become. But I started hearing more and more drummers from all over the world. I get messages all the time. It's really I appreciate the messages because it keeps me motivated and keeps me in the know that I'm having a positive effect on the drumming culture around the world. And it fuels me. It fuels us. I'm like, okay, it is work. Now, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I it's much more pleasurable now because before every week would be, I would try to do like a world changing lesson, you know.
Mhm.
And instead of doing, and so that would drain me. Like
Yeah,
it would take,
that's real. Yeah.
you know, now like I can just think of a concept and okay, oh, I just heard this, or somebody just suggested this, or me and Larry just talked about this. Maybe I'll do it, and I'll just do it.
Mhm.
And so it's become a lot more fun and pleasurable because I'm not, spending hours upon hours trying to just conceptualize a lesson. So now I can actually enjoy the fact that I know my lessons are impacting drummers, and it keeps me going. And I'm happy to help whoever and whatever they want to get out of my lessons. I'm happy to be that person helping them. So. Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on, man. This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun.
That's what's up. That's
Yeah.
what's up. Where can the so obviously they can follow you on Instagram, YouTube, but where else can the people buy your records? You're a prolific composer. Like where can they buy albums with you playing drums and also original music you've put out?
Well, I have two albums. Songs in the Key of Q is my first album, and then Q Vision is my second album. That's on all streaming platforms, including YouTube. Obviously, about my YouTube channel. I do plan on recording this Empathy Suite. I don't have plans as of yet, but I definitely want to document it. I'm going to get a good video out of it. And that's it. Just continue to follow me, and you'll hear about new things coming out eventually. I mean, you can hear me on other people's albums, but I'll let you do the research if you really want to. You know what I mean? If you really want it, then you'll find it. So
It's bad. Well, thank you so much, Brother Davis.
thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, man. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it from the man himself, man, Brother Quincy Davis. That concludes this episode of Conversations in Rhythm. Till the next time, keep swinging.
Keep
All right?
swinging, y'all. Keep swinging.
All right, brother. Don't walk the dog. Yeah.
See y'all later.
All
Peace.
right, now. Peace.
All right.